Welcome to the BoshNRoll channel. If you want to support my daily Eternal Magic offerings while getting amazing perks like the Discord community, have me play your deck on the channel, or my list and sideboard guides before tournaments, check out Patreon or the YouTube membership program. This channel is made possible by these amazing sponsors. Check out all their links in the video description below. Once again, thanks for being here. Let's go play some Magic. Welcome back to the BoshNRoll channel. Today I'm playing Legacy, and this is, of course, the BoshNRoll special Hot Bant. That's Bant control with a splash for red for Minsc and Boo and some sideboard cards. The red splash used to be for Expressive Iteration, but we had to fill that gap with other things here. This league is sponsored by Patreon subscriber Posadas Chihuahua. And the request from Chihuahua was for me to play what I think the best version of Bant is. And I don't really know what the best version of Bant is right now, and I already played Bant Stoneblade on the channel, and I think that deck's really good, but rather than play that again, I'd rather explore the space a little more. And this is something a ton of people have been asking about. What do we do with Hot Bant now that Expressive Iteration is gone? Well, let's try it out. This list started with my Eternal Weekend list, which I had put a lot of work into at the time and made sense at the time. And honestly, not a whole lot has changed. Delver still exists, Initiative Stompy still exists, the rest of the metagame largely unscathed. Except all of those decks are slower now, or at least the two most busted decks are a little slower now. And Delver can't grind quite as hard. But the rest of the format's right where it was back in December, for the most part. And what I've done here is replace the Expressive Iterations with 4 cards. I added 2 Sylvan Library. This is a card that I don't love in general. When it works, it's insane, but it frequently doesn't work because sometimes you draw it against decks that you don't have enough life total to use it effectively by the time it's relevant. Like if you draw this in a mid-game against Delver, when you're already facing down Delver and Dragon's Rage Channeler, it's probably not going to do much. If you play it in a control mirror, we all have Prismatic Ending. It just doesn't stick the way it used to, but when it does stick, oh boy, it's good. So I'm gonna run it, and I have 2, because this is not a card I want to play one of. You want to see this as early as possible in basically every matchup where you want to cast it. So I have 2 for that reason. I got my eye on this one. I expect it will be a hero sometimes, and it will be a 0 other times. And then we'll think about what we could do instead. I added a second main deck Dress Down. This is an interactive spell, meaningful interaction, not just like Force of Negation where it's just like, oh, I'll put it in because it's a counter or whatever. Dress Down, being a cantrip is insane. Sometimes you want to speed out your Uro on turn 3. It doesn't happen often, but there's matchups where it's the right thing to do. It's good against Urza's Saga. It's good against Thassa's Oracle. It's good against the initiative decks that are still left out there. This is just a great tool to have. And my last slot is the most questionable of them, but it's something that I want to try. Undermountain Adventurer is a chunky body that gives you the initiative. One of the problems with Hot Bant is that it's really good at grinding the game to a halt, and then not always good at winning the game. And it's especially bad at winning the game if your opponent has a Caracas. You do play 2 Wasteland to remove it, but as long as Caracas is in play, Boo is not getting in for any damage, Uro is not getting in for any damage. And having another thing that can just disrespect Caracas, we have like Endurance Beatdown and Dig for Wasteland are our plans otherwise. And those plans are fine. In those matchups, if your opponent might have Caracas, you have to hold your Wastelands, make a plan for how you're actually going to win the game. But having Undermountain Adventure, this is a real thing that can flip the script on decks that think that they are the aggressor. We're pretty good at protecting the initiative and not taking combat damage if we get it. But previously, we've not had a good way to get it. This is just something I'm trying, and I think it's pretty cool. Back in December during Eternal Weekend, I was actually cutting Narset from the deck because she just didn't hold up anymore. But with Expressive Iteration gone, we're seeing kind of a Narset resurgence in the format. The Jeskai Days Undoing deck is showing up and doing extremely well, and that deck plays 4 Narset and a Hull Breacher. And she's back, and I'm glad. I do like her. As long as she makes sense in the list, I like a couple of copies. We got the normal 8 cantrips, the normal 8 removal spells. I chose Terminus as my main deck sweeper of choice. It's easier to cast and gets you out of stickier spots than Supreme Verdict does. Though Supreme Verdict is also a contender for the slot. 3 Uro, 3 Minsc and Boo. These are your threats, these are your engines. I want to see them often, and I want them to resolve. And I don't want to be afraid to shove Minsc and Boo onto the stack if I have it in an opportune looking spot. 3 copies let me get really rowdy with that one. And the sideboard is just stuff that counters what I expect to play against in the Moto Leagues. This is probably 2 or 3 cards off from what I'd play in paper. Reanimator, Oops All Spells, those graveyard combo decks that you basically never see in paper are everywhere in the Moto Leagues. I've just got a little more respect for that. And another exciting fold of this league, before we start playing it, is that channel supporter Spunky, who sent me on a control deck challenge, putting an extra cash bounty if I trophied with a control deck. The Spunky challenge is over. His leagues have run their course, and I did not trophy in any of them, but he extended the challenge. If I trophy with any control deck in the near future, the bounty is still live. So shout out to Spunky for keeping it spicy on the channel. We are playing for extra stakes here. And let's go make a run at it. This is post-ban, hot ban. Let's go. I'm on the draw in round 1. Island Ponder Keep. Let's go. Having the 1 of basic land in the deck is a little tricky because we're a 4-color deck and the basic land is actually pretty bad. But having our 1-lander be... Oh god. Our opponent mulled to 5 and then played Fairy Seer. Oh. I'm not going to Force of Will that. I would like to draw a white source, though, and get this out of the way. Anyway, I was saying that the basic island's actually pretty bad in the deck because you want to be able to cast your spells. But if you're going to keep a 1-lander in the dark, it's not a bad one to stick with. Opponent top-bottomed their Scry. Another removal spell. Let's find some white mana, please. Okay, cool. White mana and another removal spell. Do not shuffle this. Now we got to figure out, are they ninjas? Are they fairies? Is this some sort of blue Delver deck? They didn't accidentally join the Legacy queue with their Pauper deck because they have Blue to Delta and Misty Rainforest. This is looking like ninjas. Yep. Alright, Ingenious Infiltrator will get them a card. I have the removal spell for that and the protection spell, and I know what we're dealing with now. Ninjas usually doesn't play Wasteland, but I'm just going to have to hope that remains true, because I don't have a good plan or a good follow-up for this. I will force back if they try to counter this. Their hand is Fairy Seer and 4 mystery cards after their draw step here. I'm not going to counter that. I can remove that as long as they don't waste me. Being a Life from the Loam cantrip deck with 23 lands, normally you're not hurting for land drops that hard, but there is always this tension early on in games like this where it could come up. They bottomed. I'm going to Prismatic Ending this. I'm using Ending on the thing that's easy to end because cards like Yuriko and... Interesting, they force this. I'm going to force back. Cards like Yuriko and Ingenious Infiltrator require Swords to Plowshares to answer on the time frame I need to answer them. They force Pitched Ponder, so they have another ninja if this is something they felt they needed to 2-for-1 themselves to protect. And it probably means that it's either Infiltrator or they don't have the 3rd land for Yuriko. Ornithopter, sure. The flip side of using Prismatic Ending is if they find a Retrofitter Foundry. That's kind of a sticky permanent that's annoying to deal with. Did not shuffle, and they have Changeling Outcast. Okay, 2 enablers. This would be a great time to draw land number 3. Okay, plow number 3. They're down to 1 card in hand, though they do know their top card. I can plow or dress down here to stop a ninja trigger. They literally can't have Force of Will if they also have a ninja. Just attacking with Changeling Outcast, that's interesting. I am going to plow Outcast in the end step. I want to start casting my spells using my mana. Spells in my hand are not my problem right now. Okay, here we go. Bonder, come on. Save me. Cool. Arrakis stabilizes extra specifically against Yuriko. And now I don't even need to plow half of their ninjas. I could just bounce them. And I have Brainstorm on top of my deck. They drew this land for the turn. Brainstorm after the land drop. So now they don't have a chance to shuffle away if they draw bad cards. Ornithopter not attacking, so we don't even have a ninja. Okay, cool. I guess I could have plowed this Ornithopter. And then I get to burrow, basically, with Reckless Abandon. I will Brainstorm here. I'm not in a hurry at this point. Now I wish I hadn't brainstormed. But that's why I thought about not doing it, because this is just kind of a bad showing. But I will pass now. Yeah, I think if I just let myself get a card deeper, I'm holding up Dress Down and Swords to Plowshares. There's not a lot that can happen to me that's bad here. I'm going to do that this turn cycle. Just hold up Plow and Force. This might be an end step Dress Down Shove Uro. I don't even think that's true, though. No, because I want the draw of Uro. If I plow this Ornithopter, and then they ninja me some other way, I'm going to feel really stupid. But I would like to get Uro in the mix here. I'm going to plow the Ornithopter. So I don't feel great about it. But now I get to put Uro on the stack. Get a card deeper. Hardcast Daze, that's fine. Uro's good for a card whether it resolves or whether it gets countered. This game is tricky right now because even though I'm missing tons of land drops and stuff, it's still 1000% my fault if I lose this game. All the tools have been here to play the game. Now I have a choice. I think I want to Brainstorm. I don't think I'm going to Undermountain Adventure this game, but I do think Minsc and Boo will win on the spot. So, Adventure and in Sylvan Library is the card I would Brainstorm in my main phase to try to find. So, I'll put back Undermountain Adventure and Minsc and Boo, and then I'll play Library. If they Force of Will this, then that clears the path for Minsc and Boo. I keep my land because that can Uro. I think this is the turn where we take over the game. They're now representing Hardcast Force of Will. I'm just going to let Sylvan Library do its thing. Put back the Adventurer. Put back the Misty. Keep the backup Minsc and Boo. I could also go for Uro here. Yeah, I think I actually just want to Uro here. They haven't done anything proactive in a very long time, which makes me think they have reactive spells, and Uro is a card I'm okay getting Force of Willed, and I don't have to force back. I'm just slowly getting the last 3 cards out of their hand. Though I could just push here. I have this Force of Will. What am I worried about ninjas doing? Yeah, I am actually going to force back. I wasn't going to, and I think I win this game if I don't, but I also think I win this game if I do. And if they force back now, then they're hellbent, and I still have Uro and Minsc and Boo and Sylvan Library. Okay. Alright, Force Pitching Days, deal. That exchange ended up being pretty good for me. Now, relevant draws in their deck include Ingenious Infiltrator, and that's about it. Okay, cool. We beat the Legacy deck that contains Fairy Seer that mulled to 5. Put that one on the scoreboard. Ninja sometimes has Back to Basics in the sideboard, which is a card that I hate, but luckily we are bringing in all our Pyroblasts anyway. Kozilek's Return doesn't kill the ninjas, but it kills all the enablers for them. That's in the maybe pile. We didn't see Retrofitter Foundry, though we should assume it's in there. We did not see Urza Saga, and it's like 60-40 that it's not in there. The ninjas community is split on Urza Saga as a worthwhile inclusion. I personally don't like it. I think it's too important to have blue-black on turn 2 to put a colorless land in your deck. But I know some people do play it. Endurance can block. Carpet gives me tons of mana. You know, I'm playing Prismatic Ending in my deck, so I'm not that worried about Retrofitter Foundry. And if they show me Urza Saga, we'll get a game 3 maybe, or I'll just beat it. I have 2 dress downs in the main too. deck is pretty stacked up to deal with that sort of problem. I think I'm going to cut all of my Force of Wills. Narset is another possible cut if I want to leave a Force in, but I think the Red Blasts just cover that base. And this isn't a deck that does anything horrifying that's usually worth 2 cards to answer. And the most horrifying things they can do are not spells, they're activated abilities. I don't have a Containment Priest that can blow out ninjutsu, so this is where I am, at least until I learn more about what's in their deck. Which, hopefully I don't. Hopefully they just die. Okay, 2 white removal spells with no white mana. I do have Red Blast. It's Mystic Sanctuary. Oh, maybe this shouldn't even be in the deck. I don't know if I looked closely enough at our spells to include this. It's insane with EI, but this maybe shouldn't even be there anymore. That's awkward. Oh, I could kill a ninja, maybe. Or not. Or I could just lose. I'm going to keep this hand, though. 23 land deck full of cantrips. 1 white source sets it off. And I'm not without answers here. Top bottom the scry. Ponder. Okay. If I Red Blast the Fairy Seer, if they daze, they can't ninja. I'm going to do this. If this is dead, they can't ninja. If they daze, they can't ninja. They would have to Force of Will if they want to ninja next turn. And that's what they did. Okay. Force pitching Ponder. And this gives me, next turn, Ponder into White Source. Ponder plus draw step for White Source. Stabilizes against the ninja. Whatever it may be. Fairy Seer's coming in. Who's coming out? Moon Circuit Hacker. Okay. That one's not that scary. Yeah, deal. Playing the swamp first. Okay, you have Changeling Outcast. I was about to say playing the swamp first means that if you draw a blue source, you can't replay Fairy Seer. Turns out it doesn't matter though. A Ponder. And a Shuffle. And find a white source. I was never worried, were you? I'm going to get Savannah here because Endurance is in my hand. I'm going to end the Changeling Outcast. I think by showing me Hacker, they've made it clear they don't have Yuriko or Ingenious Infiltrator. And Hacker's just a loot at this point. It's not actual card advantage. Hacker could flip into Yuriko, but now I'm set up. I got my white mana, and we're playing the game. Unless they back to basics me right now, in which case I've probably lost. Discarded Brainstorm to the loot. That's scary. Ponder. I'm not getting back to basics this turn. And the mana they're showing me doesn't cast the Fairy Seer in their hand. But Ponder can change everything, so we're not ruling anything out yet. Did not shuffle. Played Ornithopter. Okay. They missed their land drop. Discarded a Brainstorm on a loot. This person has a real ninja in their hand at this point, I think. I'm just going to play Tropical Island and pass. Because Yuriko and Ingenious Infiltrator both trigger off all ninjas, not just themselves, and Moon Circuit Hacker is a ninja for ninja count. Their hand is our suspected ninja, Fairy Seer, and 2 mystery cards that would have to be Force Blue card for this combat to really suck for me. It is Yuriko. Allow that. Okay, they do have Force Blue card. I can Brainstorm now for a Red Blast, which I did not find. So we're going to get hit with 2 Yurikos. If I put back Minsc and Boo and Mystic Sanctuary, is that better? I'm not ready for Minsc and Boo, and I'll put Mystic Sanctuary on top. Okay. So they did... Oh, wait. Fairy Seer, we knew, was a blue card. So they didn't need Force Blue card in their last 2 cards. They just needed Force of Will in their last 2 cards. Alright, how bad is it? 1 damage from Changeling Outcast, 0 damage from Pluto Delta, and then they get to loot. Okay. They do get to play Pluto Delta Changeling Outcast second main. And we know they have Ornithopter. There's 1 mystery card in their hand right now. It's Ornithopter Changeling Outcast. Now I have a really scary decision to make, which is, do I play Wasteland and just make sure Daze is off, or do I get my extra blue source down in Mystic Sanctuary, but opens it up to their one mystery card being Daze. And you know me, I hate losing to Daze. I'm just gonna clear Yuriko when I know this works. Blue, white, green, Bant mana. The Uro can start gaining life to get me out of these like nuts and bolts beats here. Shit. Well, they got me. Yeah, now I just die in 3-point chunks. I need Red Blast and Red Source. I don't think I can get there. Okay. We don't need to play this out. Even if I draw Red Blast, Red Source, I have not answered their 3 damage on board, and that's 9 while I'm at 8. So now we know for sure that that's in the deck. Force of Vigor versus Force of Will is interesting. Force of Will can interact with things that aren't back to basics. But Force of Vigor lets me have more outs if they slide it in against me, which I'm more worried about. Like Force of Will you have to have up front, but it does more against more of the deck. Force of Vigor you can draw into. And what am I cutting here, if this is how we're doing it? I mean, Wasteland isn't very good in the matchup. It does tap for colorless mana, which is relevant on a number of my spells. But I think I can cut at least one of those. Minsc and Boo can probably get shaved down a little bit, because my opponent has to have... They have to be behind or at parity for Minsc and Boo to do his job. Is that even true? Or is it just a 4-4, then 7-7, just gas against them no matter what? It is a 4-mana spell, at the very least. Okay, now I have 2 Force of Wills on top of my 3 Pyroblasts and Prismatic Ending. Maybe I do want to split this between Will and Vigor. I do expect Retrofitter Foundry. We've seen Ornithopter. Never mind. I'm going Force of Vigor. I've decided. This is the plan. Yeah, Light from the Loam start with a removal spell. Keep. I can clear 1 shitter. I just gotta hope they don't have 2. Oh, they actually have 0. That's cool. Is there any universe that exists where you're a Stifle deck? That would be annoying. Alright, don't stifle me. Cool. I think I want Savannah here. It gets... I need white. And then... And my double green isn't quite here, so I'm actually just gonna get... Undra. Yeah, and I'm gonna loan my land back. I just want to make sure I hit my 3rd land drop, now that my opponent hasn't done anything that I need to react to on turn 1. I'm not gonna dredge this loam. Maybe ever. Certainly not soon. I have land number 3 now. I'm planning to ponder next turn. Fairy Seer on turn 2. So did you just draw that? Or did you think leaving up blue... Like, do you have a blue spell that matters on turn 1? They topped, which means they can't fetch now. Can I do anything to punish that? Don't think so. I can Prismatic Ending. And their creature's gone. I like that. I'm just going to pass here without pondering. This is the back to basics turn, and they kept kind of a slow hand. If they just back to basics with force backup here, that's something I want to be able to plan for, or at least react to in some sort of way. Changeling Outcast and Ornithopter have joined the party. I'm going to end step Brainstorm here. I'm not going to Dredge Loam for any of the Brainstorm draws. We got Swords to Plowshares and Ponder. That's good stuff. 2 lands on top of the, or in the hand. I could put those lands on top of the deck, Dredge Loam, and end up with them in my hand, plus clear them from future draws. Vega and Savannah. Light from the Loam. Please don't force some negation. Cool. And I'll play the Savannah. They've got 5 cards in their hand and 2 attackers now. This is where things get crazy. I have 1 Swords to Plowshares that I don't expect I could rely on. But I am going to make the play that's available to me, which is to kill the ninja. Fetching in response. They must have Flusterstorm. That's the card they held up on turn 1. Oh, Moon Circuit Hacker, sure. Yeah, that's cool. Alright, yeah, you can flip your ninjas in and out. So that countered my Plow, but not in a way that draws them 2 cards. They draw 1 card. I'm more okay with that. Ornithopter's back. Not Trudging Loam. Okay, I can ponder here, and I'm still able to dress down if I need to. Ponder. Pyroblast and Narset. Those are both good cards. I'll take the Pyroblast now. Play my Taiga. I can dress down and turn off all the ninjas. And then kill the good one. And Narset's on top of my deck. And they can pick up Moon Circuit Hacker with Ingenious Infiltrator, and then redeploy Moon Circuit Hacker with Ornithopter, which seems to be the plan that they're on here. I'm going to dress down the squad. This is the way I don't let them draw 3 cards this turn. Force of Will, huh? Well, I'll Pyroblast that then. Because I can't Pyroblast the Infiltrator or else they Moon Circuit it again. And Narset is effective against this particular ninja army. Now they can decide if they want to put 2 extra damage on me and lose their raw card advantage off Moon Circuit. Okay. They're hiding their Infiltrator from me. Okay. That makes some sense. Moon Circuit Infiltrator Hacker Infiltrator? That's a different card. Moon Circuit Hacker is an artifact or enchantment for Force of Vigor, and so is Ornithopter, in case that matters. Top card is Ponder right now. I think I want to start with Ponder, or I could start with Narset, and any green card I hit gives me Force of Vigor, but I'm holding Minsc and Boost, so I have that already. Okay. Blue, blue, red. I'm gonna go with Narset. I don't know that I can even activate her right now, because if they attack her or if they put 3 damage on her, there's 1 ninja that can still hit me and draw a card. If this finds a removal spell, it's better. Okay, I am going to use Narset. That was a close call, though. Surgical Swords to Plowshares in response. Okay, that's fair. They've now seen the Fistful of Force of Vigor. There's 1 Red Blast still in my deck that I can hit here as a spot removal spell. Instant Boo and Dress Down. Okay, Dress Down plays. And if I fetch an island... Yeah, I fetch Volcanic Island here, which can put Pyroblast on top of my deck, and then I can Dress Down into it. Volcanic Island, Mystic Sanctuary, still doing work here, even though I'm not sure it should be in the deck. Do they have a second Surgical? And if so, do I care? To be determined. I didn't have to make that decision just yet. So I can blast the Ornithopter and the Hacker right now, if I want to. And by blast, I mean Force of Vigor. I'm actually going to do that. Sucks to lose Minsc and Boo, but knowing that they're kind of running out of gas here, I can't let these ninjas keep cracking. Narset checks the Ingenious Infiltrator, and I have an answer on top of my deck to both Back to Basics or Yuriko. Looted Delta, that's their first land drop in a while, so they drew that for turn. They might just cast Infiltrator here, but ninjaing it gets 2 damage on Narset faster for half the mana, so it doesn't make sense to cast it here. The game of Whack-A-Mole we're about to play is if they have Back to Basics and how I can... Alright, well, guess I'm wrong. Genius Infiltrator is in play now. So they spent 4 mana to put 1 damage on Narset instead of 2 mana to put 2 damage on Narset. I'll take it. Drawing Pyroblast. You get to cast Ponder. Start with that. Terminus is in my deck somewhere. Okay. Prismatic Ending does clear Infiltrator while leaving up Pyroblast. Prismatic Ending. You've got red, green, white, and blue. Get rid of that. This gives Narset another turn to be alive. 5 mana represents Hardcast Force. Another damage on Narset. I Brainstorm for turn. I will cast that. I know there's a fetch land on top of my deck. It was 3 lands on top of my deck. Alright, well, let's get rid of those. And I can just let Narset die rather than dress down to draw a card. That doesn't sound good. Narset, you did good work. Drew me a card, then saved me 3 life. Did just unlock their hand, though. Got some cantrips coming. Not shuffle Ponder. I am going to shuffle my lands that I don't want. And I'll get another Tundra here, or blue, green. I probably need green more than I need blue. Look at Tropical Island. I'd love to find one of my payoffs now. That's not it. I'm just going to pass. If they do the multi-ninja trick again, Pyroblast is ineffective, so I think I'm going to dress down if they ninja me this turn. And I need to save this Pyroblast for back to basics. They do have a game-ending spell in their deck. Wasteland, you're killing me. Were these the 2 cards I sent back? It was Wasteland, Tropical Island, and I drew Misty Rainforest, Wasteland. I will not be Pyroblasting a Brainstorm against the deck with multiple blue spells that kill me. I am getting worried now. They're seeing a lot of cards I'm kind of flooding out. We were doing okay for a while. Like 1 Uro flips this game, but I don't currently have one of those. Plague Engineer, sure. Gaming Hamster, yep, that works. Temporarily. I can dress down the Plague Engineer, play Minsc and Boo, get Boo up to 4/4, and then it'll be a 3/3 in play. There is a workaround here. Terminus and 2 Prismatic Endings are still in my deck. Endurance is still in my deck. Uro. All my Uros are still there. I could dredge Loam to just get more looks at Uro, or I could just draw Uro for my turn and feel good about it. Wasteland is a colorless source. Uro, get in there. They've shown me 1 surgical already, so I'm going to make sure I don't pass priority with Uro in my graveyard. I have green, green, blue, blue, and I can leave red up while I do it. If I stack the draw card first, not going to put this land into play, then Uro dies. And before they get a chance to surgical, green, green, blue, blue, and Uro's on the stack, I exiled my Loam. That's not going to be part of this game. And it's eating up my clock, having to decline to Loam every turn. Force of Will pitching Force of Will is fine. You're not going to get me with a Pyroblast on that. Down to 2 cards. If one of them's surgical, my plan did just slow down a lot. But if it's not surgical, we're still rocking out. That exchange cost them 2 cards, a life point, and I gain 3 life. Not going to block. No ninjas, no problems. And we're going to my turn. Cool. Ripping lands left and right. I'll get my basic. Blue, blue, and green. Uro's on the stack. If they have a removal spell, I can Uro again here. An Edict, sure. Uro's gone. Gain 3 life, put a land into play. Fetch. I'll get Tundra. And green, green, blue, blue. The 3rd Uro in 2 turns. Or the 3rd back end of Uro. We front-ended it once as well. I will put my land into play. There's still fetchables in here. And okay, pass the turn. I'm now under 5 minutes on my clock, which is always a worry. But if this Uro starts running roughshod, it'll do what it needs to do. Back to basics. I'm going to try to counter that. Okay, we did that. That's handled. That does clear the launch pad for a ninja here, which they knew would be true. But I can dress it down if I care. Yuriko. Oh, I should have dressed down before blocks and just block this shitter. Yeah, that would have been the play. Whoops. Okay, this does turn on days. Yeah, I should have just blocked. What am I even doing? small bleed there. Ornithopter, and their last card in hand is Changeling Outcast. Okay. 4.5 minutes on my clock. Blue, colorless Narset. Activate her. Looking for a removal spell. Okay, that's fun. I'm going to put Minsc and Boo in my hand and invite them to trade their Death Touch creature for my Uro. Let's do that. Oh, now it doesn't even matter. Cool. Now I can kill both their things. They're revealing the Minsc and Boo pre-combat was actually pretty sick. Prismatic Ending. White, red, green. And I will pass the turn. Changeling Outcast, 1 mystery card in their hand. It's a second back to basics. I mean, honestly, that's fine. I have an answer to it. And they're losing on the board. Putting 2 damage on Narset, using their Death Touch creature to do it. That's good stuff. There's still a Red Blast in my deck somewhere. Be attacking. They will certainly block with Ornithopter here. Second main, Prismatic Ending, the back to basics. White, red, blue. I'm a little worried about playing this Sylvan Library, but like for clock, but I think it's the right play and I'll just play correctly wherever I can. Leaving Caracas up in case they draw exactly Yuriko. Cool. All right. They were not going to try to time me out. I appreciate that. Cool. Just out-controlling ninjas. One of the trickier creature decks, but still ultimately just a creature deck, which we are pretty good against as long as we don't get cheesed by back to basics. On to the next round. You come here to level up at Magic. To level up as a software engineer, check out the new YouTube series Dev Better, hosted by the founder of 7 Factor Software and Magic player, Jeremy Duvall. 7 Factor's small teams of high-performing engineers build custom mobile apps, APIs, and highly scalable systems for Fortune 500 companies and ambitious startups with great ideas. If you'd like to hire 7 Factor, or maybe join their team, contact them through their website at 7factor.io. And don't forget to subscribe to 7 Factor's YouTube for every episode of Dev Better. I'm on the draw in round 2 with a keeper of a hand. My opponent has a Thalia Guardian of Thraben Avatar. I hope that does not mean they're on death and taxes. And the matchup's fine, but I just don't want to grind it that hard. I just played 49 minutes versus ninjas. Give me a break. Okay, Prismatic Vista, usually not in death and taxes, so I think we're safe there. My hand is bad against combo, but great against other things, which is pretty normal of hands with this deck, at least game 1 hands. Are we Bant mirroring? More likely you're Jeskai with the colors you're representing, though. This is where we get blown out. I'm going to get Drop and Tundra. Play the Sylvan Library. The possible scenarios here, in order, are Library gets countered. If it's a Force of Will, it's a good trade. If it's a counter spell, it's whatever. 1 for 1. If they untap and Prismatic Vista, they have to spend mana on their turn. Okay, Force Pitching Supreme Verdict. That was one of the better outcomes. The worst outcome was they just play Narset on their turn. And I am both under an Narset and my library doesn't work. But Force Pitching Supreme Verdict, I think this is the Jeskai deck. Cool. I don't believe this deck is main decking any Blood Moons or Back to Basics, but they are supported in the sideboard. Ponder did not shuffle, and then they played basic lanes. Sure. I'm going to fetch a red land. Do I want double green? I think I do. Yeah, I'm going to get Taiga, because that represents Uro next turn. Even if it turns off this Mystic Sanctuary. Yeah, that gives me green, blue for next turn, or Minsc and Boo next turn. Both of which I'm interested in these sort of matchups. Uro trigger. Put in Mystic Sanctuary. Okay. This is the type of matchup that Undermountain Adventurer is specifically for. Like if my opponent shoves Narset or Teferi this turn, I just take the initiative and go off. Like if they play Hull Breachers, Swords to Plowshares, that's bad. But that doesn't interact with Minsc and Boo. I'm just going to put Minsc and Boo on the stack. Put you to the real test here. I've been in the position of my opponent many times in life of I roll, how do I beat this card? If they end step Hull Breacher, untap Days Undoing, that's a way to beat Minsc and Boo. I am holding Swords to Plowshares, but I'm not going to hold up Swords to Plowshares against the Azorius control deck when I could resolve Minsc and Boo. These decks play one Hull Breacher. Well, yeah, just don't have it. That's fine. And there's different builds of the deck, but the one that recently won a challenge was on the 1. Okay, they plus Teferi. That makes me think they have Prismatic Ending. The one that recently won a challenge, I'll finish that thought, had 1 Hull Breacher, 3 Narset. Ooh, Caracas. Don't really want that. So here are some things I can do. I can plus Minsc and Boo, get Prismatic Endinged. I guess, like, leaving Teferi in play is what it is, basically. If I play I'm not going to minus to deal 3 damage with Undermountain Adventurer, so might as well plus here. And the sacrifice ability, you sacrifice the creature on resolution, so it's not like I can pull the hamster out from under this Prismatic Ending. Yep, Prismatic Ending. I am shocked. But now they're tapped out, and I can take the initiative. I promise they weren't ready for this. I do have exactly 1 basic land in my deck to search for, which I will do, and then play. And off we go. It takes 6 mana to Days Undoing combo, and they only have 4 right now. I can pressure Teferi next turn. If they plus Teferi and find a land, they could play the other Supreme Verdict. They pitched 1 to Force already, but generally, the stock list is on 2. Didn't shuffle. Teferi is deleting my creature. It would have taken the same 3 damage on Teferi from the creature or from minusing Teferi, so that makes sense. Murktide Regent. Okay. I've got Swords to Plowshares for this. And I get to go into the Lost Well. Or if I Forge, that's still only 6. Bummer. That was almost cool. I guess I have to choose a target when Forge goes on the stack. Or no, because Venture is a separate trigger. Alright. I'm going to Lost Well, because I don't have any creatures. Try to Force of Will, not helpful. Ponder may be necessary here. Who is in? I guess maybe Force of Will is good, because I have multiple shots at clearing Teferi this turn. But I'm going to start with Caracas, Swords to Plowshares. If they have Force, I will ponder for a different answer. If they don't have Force, it's handled. Force pitching minor misstep. Oh yeah. Nice basic plains mana base. I could also 7 up this hamster. Ooh, maybe I was supposed to Forge, because if I go boo boo, I can ponder and still Uro this turn. I got plays. Let's find another Swords to Plowshares. Okay, Endurance is a blocker. Yeah, I can't clear this, or I can clear the Teferi with Prismatic Ending, but that doesn't matter, because I don't have enough mana to dress down as well. So I could put Endurance into play and make them have a removal spell to take the initiative. Or I could shuffle and try to do something else. Endurance currently looks like my best bet. Or, no, Uro's in the graveyard. I literally just said that. I'm going to take the shuffle, and I can Uro if things don't work out. I shuffled into a Brainstorm, which I do still have my land drop. If Brainstorm gets another crack at Plow, or any blue source, still cast Uro. Alright, I'll keep throwing this shit at the wall. Got there on both. Easy game. Minsc and Boo and Undermountain Adventurer on top. Swords to Plowshares. Is Force blue card the other 2 cards in your hand too? Gas up my hamster. Swords to Plowshares, sure. I'm much less worried about that in these conditions. And oh, I already used my land drop. Whoops. I thought I had another land this turn. My bad. Oh yeah, I played Caracas to start this turn. That's right. Okay, 4 mana. Cleared the Murktide. They only play one of those in the the stock list. Teferi goes up. And they're dead. Cool. If this is Juju Bean's showcase list, there are 2 Blood Moon, 2 Rest in Peace in the sideboard. Rest in Peace is annoying against Uro. 1 Hull Breacher, so I probably don't need to press down. Yeah, I'm just piling up all of my blasts because they're going to have Blood Moon and their own Pyroblast. So Hydroblast will find targets. Dress Down and Terminus probably don't need to be in here. Carpet is another line against Blood Moon effects. I am leaving in all my forces because they are functionally kind of a show and tell deck. If you consider Narset plus Days Undoing to be like show and tell plus Grizzlebrand, which I mostly do in terms of gameplay. I can shave on Plow a little, because the Red Blast I'm bringing in kill everything that Plow does in their deck. But they do still have the Murktide and the Hull Breacher that I have to respect. There's not a Caracas in the stock list. Do I want Carpet, and do I want it over Wasteland? I think it's yes to both. I'm going to try it like this. The cool thing about Blood Moon is that I do play the basic, and if I just put an island in play at any time in the game, I can have an out to Blood Moon. Where back to basics, I have to leave red untapped. They've got Island Ponder. I've also got Island Ponder. I drew my 1 Wasteland I left in the deck. Hope that comes up. Didn't shuffle. And Island Ponder for me. I'm looking for spells. I got lots of lands here. Narset is a good spell. Sucks I have to draw an extra land to get her, but this is the type of thing I'm interested in for the matchup. Flooded Strand Ponder. This looks a lot like my strategy I'm executing right now. The land Ponder strategy. It's a good one. If you've never played Legacy before, I recommend it. They chose to shuffle that one. I like that. I'm going to Ponder here. I know my top card is a card I don't want, but Brainstorm's tricky, because I guess I can Brainstorm in response to Narset, so I'm not going to shuffle. I'm going to play Flooded Strand. That can get my basic island if they shove Blood Moon on the stack. And if they put Narset on the stack, I can Brainstorm in response. Basic Mountain, basic Island, basic Plains. Is it time to moon me? Oh, that's not a basic Plains. That's a Teferi. Okay. I can Wasteland them off of white. I think I want to go for this Brainstorm right now, because if I can counter Teferi effectively, that's a cool place to be. Brainstorm? Oh no, okay. I will not be effectively countering Teferi or anything else ever. I'm going to put back Caracas and Tundra, and then they're going to have a Teferi. Minusing Teferi to draw a card, you got it. I think I need to try to resolve Narset while the getting's good, more than I need to Wasteland my opponent right now. Right now it's Force of Will or Bust. Let me at least get 2 cards off of her. She's in. And I have found Sylvan Library is better than Force of Will here, because they have Teferi in play, and I have no clear answer to it. They are a deck with 5 Narset effects, so this library might be as bad or worse than Force of Will, but I can at least put it into play. And they would need to Pyroblast or Prismatic Ending right now for me to not get another card off Narset. Narset it is. She's activating. Please don't show me Pyroblast right now. Force of Will. Okay. That'll be annoying to play through, but at least I get to activate my Narset again. Minsc and Boo, what's up? Narset activate. I found a Pyroblast of my own. I would like this card. Pyroblast. And then I'm going to blast their Narset. Because this unlocks Sylvan Library. It also turns off Days Undoing as a GG play. Now they have to do something about Sylvan Library. All of this is a distraction from the Minsc and Boo in my hand. I can still answer Blood Moon with Blue Blast. Except not really, because they have Force backup. Another Narset. Okay. I will not be activating Sylvan Library. They found a Ponder that they can cast on my turn for full value, thanks to Teferi. Okay, here is Uro in my hand now. Not the most helpful of friends. I mean, let's put them to the test here. They're not gonna have days, so I can save my land drop and decide if I'm gonna wasteland them or not. Second main. Easy Force, Pitching Ponder, all the cards that we saw already. And do I think wasting them even matters, or should I just play my Tundra? Probably just gonna play my Tundra. Okay, so if they Days Undoing on their own turn, I actually end up with more cards than them until they clear Narset, which they're in good shape to do. Counterspell now is the thing I have to worry about. Okay. I'm going to cast this Endurance because I need to put something onto the board. And I'll target them with it. I don't think they have Snapcaster Mage. The stock list doesn't, but who knows if they're even on the stock list. Oh, they're doing something. If they're ending my Narset, we're dead. Okay. They have assembled their show and tell, it seems. Brainstorm in the end step. The fairy's active now. It can bounce Endurance and actually draw a card if they even care about that. If they have the Days Undoing, they're just gonna use it. They plus the fairy. That's bad news. I'm gonna see a Days Undoing in my draw step. And oh, just Prismatic Ending. Alright, I was ready to concede. You can have that. Oh, are we gonna do that too? There's two things, never mind. They're spending their other 3 mana. Okay. I'm not gonna play this out. I would like the 14 minutes on my clock for game 3. Okay, we got absolutely shut down by Teferi, but all my answers to Teferi are already in the deck. It's not like I left anything on the floor here. On the play, Wasteland is more effective. I mean, this is the problem with Sylvan Library. Once again, it's just naturally answered by so many things the format plays, and I'm in a matchup where it's especially bad. And I'm in a matchup that it wins if I ever trigger it, but triggering it seems unlikely. This could just be another Wasteland to try to increase my cheese factor. It could be Endurance as another way to challenge the board. Not excited about any of these slots, honestly. I could bring in Surgical to take all their Narsets out of their deck after I answer the first one, which actually does take a huge pressure off me in the game. But I have to answer the first one, is the problem. I guess if I'm playing this like show and tell, I'm going to experiment with this Surgical thing. I don't generally recommend Surgical in these pseudo-fair matchups, but I think they're just unfair enough that I care about this. Yeah, I'm going to try it. That could have been any one of 5 or 6 cards in my deck. I'll keep this grip full of Brainstorms. I should be able to get all these Brainstorms out of my hand before they can cast Narset. Just starting on a Tundra, making me kind of wish I brought that second Wasteland in on the play. Chose to shuffle. Please. I'm the one of Wasteland deck. Ooh, okay. That's cool. I'll play Carpet. Oh, why did I play my land? I was literally just digging for Wasteland and I'm like, land drop. Second main, I'm going to make blue and cast Brainstorm. And I will almost certainly draw the Wasteland and get punished. Okay. We dodged the cruel fate of having Wasteland in hand. I'm going to put back one of the endings, one of the Brainstorms. There's a good chance I end up drawing both of these cards next turn. Unless they Prismatic Ending Carpet. Oh, man. I think they're about to miss a land drop. And I could just aggro Pyroblast here. But I'm just not a deck that can capitalize on that in a meaningful way. Yeah, that's too bad. Hopefully you just Brainstorm lock yourself, and I don't have to do the work here. Because my opponent just played Tundra from hand. This is a deck with so many basic lands, so many fetch lands. They would hedge against Wasteland if they could. They definitely kept a one-lander with Ponder. And they shuffled the Ponder, and now they found Prismatic ending off this Brainstorm. Okay. I will just shove Uro onto the stack here. Yes, make blue. Tundra, Uro. Uro's going to draw Prismatic Ending. Do I even want that? I guess I don't want to crack this fetch land yet, regardless. Yeah, I don't care that much about Blood Moon here, because I have the Carpet. Yeah, leaving the fetch land up to Pyroblast if I need to is where I want to be here. Instead of fetch for another island, they're leaning in. and Brainstorm in the end step. Their deck functions on 3 drops, so it makes sense that they would Brainstorm to try to hit land number 2, and then end step Brainstorm to try to hit land number 3 on time. And if my read is correct, and they were spinning for land drops, then their hand's going to be all spells from here. Okay, passing the turn. That's cool. Force of Will I like. I'm going to make blue out of this carpet and cast one of these Brainstorms, get it started. If they have their Hull Breacher, I have 2 answers for it. They're certainly activating a fetch land in response. Yep, the Funzy Onesie Hull Breacher is on the stack. Volcanic Island, Pyroblast. Cool. I didn't want to have to decide if I was going to Brainstorm to dig or just Force of Will that thing. Oh, it's time to get the initiative. I'm going to put back Savannah and Prismatic Ending. Take my land drop and get the initiative against this deck right now. I'm going to search for Taiga because that gives me Uro and an extra red source. I'm about to tutor my basic anyway. Take the initiative with Force back up after they didn't fight over Hull Breacher. This one of has been pretty spicy so far this league. It's trying new stuff. I have the initiative. I have a 3/4 creature, the Force of Will backup. And Uro is just sitting in my graveyard for when I'm ready for that one. Very well, it's now or never on this Force of Will. Cool. Turns out now was the answer. And I'd still rather Lost Well, even though I do feel like they're behind, but they're oh, sick. Blue Blast and Ponder, both good cards. Up. They're behind, but their hand is full of spells, including they're a deck full of Swords to Plowshares. I'm gonna make blue so I can tap my green lands, make Uro, leaving Pyroblast in my graveyard. I don't need to loam this game, but I might want to Endurance myself at some point, and Pyroblast is a card I want access to more of. Ponder. Oh, hell yeah. I can play Narset this turn, because Undermountain Adventure taps for mana. Let's go. I'm going to attack for 3, play Narset, and I'm going to pass the turn with the initiative and 3 terrifying permanents. Narset's on the stack with a green floating, just in case. Play from the Loam Prismatic Ending. I'm going to get Ending and clear that Loam. Okay. My position is strong here. I even have Blue Blast and my island if they go for Blood Moon, but they're so far behind on board they basically couldn't Blood Moon here if they wanted to. Narset's pretty good. I have 2 creatures, so even if they find a plow here, I'm still clearing Narset. They do get to stop my Uro trigger. Oh yeah, they're just done. I don't know if that Narset whiffed or didn't find the answer, but they've had enough. I agree. Undermountain Adventure, just a one of in Hot Bant. Think about it. On to the next round. The Command Tower software by Eminence Gaming is perfect for hosting Commander events. It features easy-to-create event registration for 4-player Swiss-structured tournaments. Event management has never been so simple, and it's web-based, so there's no downloads required. You can get access for just $5 at eminence.events/subscribe. I'm on the draw in round 3, and I'm going to keep this Brainstorm hand. This hand isn't exactly good at anything yet, but it has the ability to move cards around. Island Ponder from the opponent. Okay. This is the kind of start I want when I keep a hand that isn't good at anything specifically. Goes to shuffle. Good news. And I'm just going to pretend I'm an Izzet deck. Most of my spells are Bant. So leading on Volcanic Island, if they just snap off a Wasteland here, it's the least damaging land to me. And it might put them in the space of this is Delver or something that I'm actually not when they're making decisions on cantrips. But Ponder, Shuffle, Brainstorm. Maybe just pass the turn without a land drop. That would be great for me. Boo. Boo. Opponent's cheating. Okay, I'll go to my turn. Force of Will, cool. I still don't really know what I'm looking for. I'm just going to play my Tundra and pass. Because if this is like Death's Shadow, that requires completely different decisions on a Brainstorm from Doomsday. And they could be either of those decks at this point. Misty Rainforest. So Brainstorm found 2 lands. And they're just passing with those 3 up. Got a little Minsc and Boo Buddy here. If they're a Hull Breacher deck, this Brainstorm would hurt. But I'd rather Brainstorm now because my hand's not actually doing anything. Swords to Plowshares Terminus. This is exactly the type of cards that are great in some matchups and terrible in others. I will put them on top just in case and play a fetch land. If they're combo, I'll shuffle away. If they're creatures, I'm happy to draw the removal spell. Maybe we'll get some more information this turn. Another basic island. Okay, they're not hurting for lands. Opponent wants to play land go with me. This doesn't feel like a creature deck. I'm going to fetch. And I'm going to get Tropical Island, I think. Yeah, I'll get a Trop. Trop lets me Endurance. I'm just going to pass like this. I don't think they're Doomsday, because Doomsday wouldn't play 2 islands. But passing here gives me the most choices with... I can Brainstorm, Pitch Force, and cast Endurance, or even pitch cast Endurance if I find something else to do with 3 mana. This is just does the most, and if they don't do anything else, I can cast Endurance and start attacking. Looks like they're ready to start tapping mana. Okay, we're doing this. I'm disappointed. I'm not going to lie. Force of Will, pitching, Uro, Titan of Nature's Wrath. Good chance I'm going to need to Brainstorm again here. Yes, indeed. What answers to this are in my deck? There are not many good ones. If I could get the initiative, that's kind of cool, I guess. I'm going to cast Brainstorm. Does it matter what color I leave up? There's nothing red I would do, so I'm going to Brainstorm with my red. Force Blue card is a hit. Hey, Force Blue card, what's up? Put back Prismatic Ending or Minsc and Boo and one of the Prismatic Endings. And I'll Force Blue card again. Target the Show and Tell. They pitched a Force to their Force. Oh god, they had Force. Pitching Ponder. Okay, there is 2 things left in their hand. They're gonna get to Show and Tell. I'll put in Endurance and lose to whatever this is. No, I'm gonna put in land. Yeah, because that lets me shuffle. Oh, they had the perfect sneak. Oh no. Okay, well, we can play one of these stupid games, I guess, where my opponent attacks with Emrakul, and I fetch in response to clear the non-lands from the top of my deck, and then Mystic Sanctuary doesn't help me here. I think I actually just fail to find is the play. And then float 3 mana, get annihilated. I clicked through this too fast recently. It was a mess. Sacrifice 6 permanents. And then Endurance myself. Their graveyard's going to be gone anyway, and I would like all these lands back in my deck. Chump block. And then hope that somehow I draw out of this before they do. Tough start. On land. Alright, I have a Ponder. The next blue source is a big one. They're casting Ponder. Give me a shuffle. No monsters. They did not shuffle. Bad news. Fetch land. Brainstorm, okay. Yeah, so they pondered into Brainstorm, fetched, saw 3 fresh ones. Can I get a Brainstorm lock? Land, please. Bummer. Well, they didn't activate Sneak Attack on their turn. I don't know what that means, but they cast Brainstorm and then didn't sneak. Didn't cantrip. Fetch and a shuffle. And a ponder. Shuffle, shuffle. They shuffled. Come on, deck. You sack of crap. Yeah. I love you, deck. You're not a sack of crap. Hard cast days, sure. Okay. Back into hard mode. Oh no. Atraxa. Oh no. And they found Emrakul. All right, cool. You did it. The double force was good. They took their time sculpting that hand and were rewarded for it. Force of Vigor, Blue Elemental Blast, Red Elemental Blast, all coming in. Surgical Extraction. I do like cutting out options after I survive a wave. They could be a Blood Moon deck. And Deafening Silence means that I win all the counter wars. But it also means I can't cantrip to try to answer their stuff. So a little give and take there. Terminus, not what we're looking for. Burrow's kind of slow for the matchup. Endurance does very little. It is a flash threat I can deploy when I'm holding up counter magic, but it's not a great solution. Prismatic Ending can get rid of things like Defense Grid or Blood Moon. It could even hit a Naked Sneak Attack, assuming I don't get annihilated first. This is a great Sylvan Library matchup. I'm going to cut some of the plows. I would like to be able to mess with a monster that gets into play, but I mostly just don't want monsters in play. Minsc and Boo and Undermountain Adventurer. I think Uro might be a little slow. Ending. I want access to the effect, but not in high numbers. Dress Down is a stopgap. Like, if I dress down in response to a show and tell, I can then plow an Emrakul. But I'm bringing in real interaction now. I hope I don't need to do that. Narset's good against Grizzlebrand. Wasteland can be good against their deck. Caracas is great. Do I need Loam in this matchup? In Loam, waste locking them out in those scrappy games, like cutting off all their red sources, is a real path to victory. Maybe Endurance is just bad, and I just shouldn't even play the flash threat and bring in all this junk. Okay, 4 drops. It's your job to win the game. This is one of the nightmare matchups for this deck. Will keep my hand. I need a blue card to go with this Sylvan Library, but we're starting off strong. Or to go with the Force, but we are starting off strong with Sylvan Library. Just gonna Taiga go. I'll telegraph the Pyroblast, but I don't want to get turn 1'd. Blooded Strand go. Blue card. Blue card. Shit. Okay. I am going to bet against Ancient Tomb or Lotus Petal and just get my Sylvan Library into play and hope this works. Volcanic Island. Fetch. Fuck! Yeah, that sucks pretty hard. This is gonna resolve. I'll put in Flooded Strand, and then I could Pyroblast something, maybe. I'm gonna Pyroblast Atraxa right now before she picks up her cards. Good chance they're gonna force this. Okay, they didn't. Atraxa gets a reload. We see Magus of the Moon here, which was something I was concerned about. Sneak Attack, Defense Grid. Yeah, these are basically all the cards that I named when I was sideboarding. I am, in this particular case, extremely glad that was Atraxa and not Grizzlebrand. This Grizzlebrand would have just been in play and unblastable. So they kept Misty Rainforest, Magus, Sneak Attack, and Defense Grid. Now the chat log is saying Misty, Magus, Brainstorm, Sneak, and Defense Grid. Did they forget to choose a sorcery? Okay. This is the information that I have right now. This Magus of the Moon could be a problem. And they can take their time here. They could just Defense Grid and then set up again. Or they were going to hand size. Maybe they didn't forget. Maybe they chose not to get a sorcery. Arcane Artisan in their list. My goodness. Okay. I'm just going to pay for all this stuff. I think so. Yep. Keeping every single card. And shoving Minsc and Boo off of basic island. My only real chance in this game is to race them at this point. I know 5 of the cards in their hand, and they didn't force back last turn. Or force my blast. And now I have a blue card to go with my force. Let's do it. I'm not going to interact with a Magus of the Moon. I will interact with a Sneak Attack. I won't interact with a Defense Grid because I'm untapping into 5 mana anyway. Brainstorm, go for it. There's the Misty. There's a good chance they shuffled away Defense Grid because it is not helpful anymore. And it would stop me from double countering them next turn. All right. I am incorrect. They are dead next turn on board. And I have access to counter spells. I'm not going to go to 2 and just die to like sneak attack Magus of the Moon. I'm going to put back Brainstorm. Or put back Land Brainstorm. I could put back the land and go to 6. But 6 means attracts a Grizzlebrand, etc. are all one-shots. Yeah, I'm going to put the Brainstorm on top. So I can Red Blast. Alright, I'm just going to put 7 more damage on them and pass the turn. They do have 7 cards in hand. They're protected by Grid. The Grid did stop me from double countering this turn, so it's done something. But before the Brainstorm last turn, they indicated on 2 separate occasions that they don't have counter magic. Sneak Attack's also a 5-mana play to get anything in. I don't know. We'll see. This one's going to be tight. There's a fetch land. They're going to 6. Show and tell. I will point the Red Blast at it. And this is my last move of the game. They force me back here. Then they get to sneak attack something. So it has to be Emrakul to kill me. Alright, cool. Be to resolve show and tell on turn 2. That's the Bant life. Yeah, on the draw, I have to be a lot more conservative because Sylvan Library, they don't even need an accelerator to curve when I'm tapped out into a library. I'm wondering if Boseiju is better than Mystic Sanctuary in this tech land slot, now that we don't have EI to get back, but Boseiju would be good in a number of matchups. Food for thought. Okay, confirmed Magus of the Moon, confirmed Defense Grid. Really not trying to be loaded up on prismatic endings for this matchup. It just sucks. Force of Vigor hits Sneak Attack and Omniscience, but it doesn't hit their Moon. So I think I want to... That gives me a slot. It could be Plow because of Magus. It could be Ending for Defense Grid. Force of Vigor lines up poorly against Defense Grid. So if I have the 3 mana, getting the Defense Grid, the Sneak Attack, and suddenly countering one of their spells is pretty cool. Yeah, if they're mooning me, I think I'm off Loam, so I actually have 2 slots here. Then Force of Vigor and Swords to Plowshares back. And we saw that game, how sometimes killing a monster on arrival is good enough. And I'll bring in the Plow. Okay, basic land available in my hand, ready to go. They've seen Pyroblast, so leading on Volcanic Island is something they have to respect. I know I'm just brainstorming, but they don't know that. They did keep 7, though, so I'm in trouble. Preordain. Top. Terrifying. Wasteland, bummer. Maybe I'll get the next one. And I'd rather take them off red. Ancient Tomb. Oh, are we dead? Shoving show and tell right now. I'll brainstorm in response. They clearly have a counter spell in their hand, or they wouldn't shove this into... Great. Alright, Mayor of Brick City, population me. Put back Flooded Strand and Prismatic Ending. And then I'm gonna put... I could put a land into play and potentially Hydroblast a Sneak Attack, but I have Sneak Attack covered anyway. But if the other thing I'd put into play is Sylvan Library, which then I don't have Sneak Attack covered. And this resolves, just deciding what I'm going to do with it. I'm going to put in, I think it's just fetch land. Yeah, Grizzlebrand is bad news no matter what. There is a Caracas in my deck. That's what I'm looking for at this point. Prismatic Ending doesn't help, so I will fetch in my upkeep. I'm going to let them go to discard and get their hand cleaned up before I crack in the end step. Do it in my upkeep. It's the same thing. So I'm going to fetch white here. Probably blue-white. There are not any green cards that help me here. Tundra is the one. Caracas off the top. Easy game. Ponder. Okay. I'll start with Ponder. Looking for Caracas. Flooded Strand, Ponder, Undermountain Adventurer. That's not it. I'm going to shuffle. Prismatic Ending. That's not it. And I guess I can't play Island if I want Brackus' turn, so Brainstorm. They daze this, we're out of here. I did find the plow. It's a little late to the party. I'm gonna put back Minsc and Boo and Sylvan Library. And I guess I'll Wasteland you, because I'm not doing anything else really. The best I can hope for is stopping the second round of crap here. Oh, I should have put Prismatic Ending on top, not the second Sylvan Library, because if they do jam a second Show and Tell here, I would like to put a permanent in, and putting in Sylvan Library takes away my Force of Vigor. But if they put in on missions, it doesn't matter. If they put in Sneak Attack, it probably doesn't matter. Going down to 4 on a Grizzle draw. Another Ancient Tomb, and a Lotus Petal. Doing it all. There's no Lightning Bolt in my deck if they tap this Ancient Tomb. Yeah, now I'm salty with myself because exactly the thing I was worried about is happening. I would like to put in Sylvan Library, but there's a good chance they put in Sneak Attack. But I guess that doesn't matter. Okay, yeah, it doesn't matter. Sneak Attack's going to get me anyway because they have the red available. I'll just put in Sylvan Library. And yeah, if they didn't have this Lotus Petal, I probably would have put in Island. But they do, so I'm dead. Yeah, this is the Nightmare matchup, and I could have mulliganed that last hand to one with more interaction, but just raw dogging a Show and Tell into represented Red Blast on turn 2. If my opponent's hand beats that, then it is what it is. They're just going to get you some amount of the time. That sucks. That's a tough pairing that's not that popular in the metagame, and I'm not super prepared for it. No Containment Priest, no like really dedicated hate for this. All right, Trophy Dream is dead, but we're going to keep playing. Let's go. We're a few rounds into the video. Thanks for sticking with me. Friendly reminder that if you're still here and having fun, smash that subscribe button. And if you want to play what I'm playing, you can use my affiliate link for TCG Player to support the channel while you shop for cards, and you can try any deck anytime with a cardhoarder.com loan account for Magic Online. All these links are in the video description below. Now back to the league. On the draw in round 4, I think I have to send this one. The only spell my hand can cast is Sylvan Library, and I'm on the draw against an unknown deck where this card might not even be good. Gotta send it. Oh no. Punished again. Okay, this one casts spells. My opponent's also on 5 cards, though. I just hope they're unlucky like me and not gonna dumpster me on turn 1. I'm gonna keep this and bottom Minsc and Boo and probably Narset, just as the clunkiest cards in the hand. If Ponder finds land number 2, Loam is online, and then we're cooking. So if Ponder finds land number 2, and then we're cooking, Narset is on curve. Nah, I'm not going to get greedy about that. My opponent's Mull to 5 has me thinking that maybe I need to take a risk and play Narset that might lock a combo deck out. Okay, no, we're just dead. But we're not just dead. Those Wasteland hands would have won. Okay, it is Oops All Spells, though, or Belcher. Some variation thereof. I'm going to play the Tropical Island? Or do I want Tundra? Yeah, I want Tundra. Tundra could Prismatic Ending a Chrome Mox if they don't have just the full Lethal Beagle next turn. This is land number 2 and Uro, but now knowing the matchup, I'm concerned that this won't get me there. I am going to shuffle this, even though it's exactly what I wanted this Ponder to find when I kept the hand. I need an Endurance at this point. Force Blue card is nice, but I suspect we're not going to get another turn. Chrome Mox. They played their land tapped last turn. Okay, Summon Respect. Yeah, they're going for it. Spoiler. Yep. Okay. Yeah, last turn they must have been 1 mana short, and they just found it here. I would like to look at their deck and then concede. A Kingdom for Endurance, but I don't have it. Okay, we've got active negations in a full boat. Oracle, there is Belcher in here as well. There's a 1 of Belcher with Lion's Eye Diamond. And Dread returns here, the Oracle's here. Yeah, we're good. Bummer. Okay, we know the drill now, and we do have a lot of tools for this matchup. This is their deck. The only red cards are Wild Cantor and Spirit Guide, so I'm not going to bring in Blue Blast. Just wanted to check if there were sources for that. Force of Vigor. If I'm on full aggro mode, I could Force of Vigor a Chrome Mox before they get to imprint, which could set them back the 1 mana they need to function. Dress Down beats this deck. Sylvan Library is a green card. Terminus doesn't matter. Swords to Plowshares doesn't matter. Life from the Loam doesn't matter. But it is a green card, and I'm going to have 3 Endurances and 2 Force of Vigors. I could probably find something that matters less than that. Deck doesn't draw cards, but Narset's blue, and she engines up in the mid game, because I'm going to have to eat my hand to get ahead here. Okay, Prismatic Ending out as well, and then all these pitch spells and graveyard hate coming in. How good is Meltdown? It hits Chrome Moxen if they pass the turn with them, but that requires me to survive the first wave. All right. They do have this full boat of Pact of Negations. Is there anything... If I cut my Prismatic Endings for my Red Blast, that could give me another layer against Pact specifically. And the white cards don't pitch to anything, so they're not actually important. Okay. This is as aggressive as I can be with my sideboard plan, which is, I think, is where I need to be. I'll keep this hand with Surgical Extraction and Brainstorm. And I have green cards to pitch if I find an Endurance. Generally, in opening hands against Oops-All spells, you need at least 1 layer of interaction, or else you're dead. They can usually beat 1 layer. They can sometimes beat 2 layers. I'm very happy when I have 3 layers. Agadeem, Chrome Mox, pitching a Narcomoeba, another Chrome Mox. This is a spot where Force of Vigor would be a huge blowout. But if I had it, I would go for it, but I don't think I brainstorm for it here. Oh my god. They're going down to 1 card left. The Surgical will win this game, unless they're on Belcher. Oh, Straight Spy, okay. Okay. Go ahead. Unless there's some backup plan here. Trigger happens, and... Does it matter if I hit? I'm just going to make sure I don't mess this up. I'm pretty sure I'm taking the Narcomoebas. Memory's Journey can put 3 cards from the graveyard into the library. They don't have blue-blue. They can Cabal Therapy. You have Cabal Therapy? I see Cabal Ritual. There is 1 Cabal Therapy. There usually is. Okay, so they can Cabal Therapy. And now they know I don't have Counter Magic. So if I zap the Narcomoebas, they can Memory's Journey, the Oracle, and... Or, no, they don't have any green mana. No, we're fine. Okay. Surgical Extraction, target Narcomoeba. Alright, sorry to my opponent for tanking on what ended up being just the level 0 play. But just want to make sure I don't friggin' die to some sideboard tech. Okay, they know about Surgical now. And my deck is not going to change here. This is a mulligan. They are going to jam on turn 1. Come on, deck. Opponent's also on 5. Mulligan. Jeez. I have like 9 free spells in my deck. I'm getting nothing. Nothing. Okay, at this point, opponent's on 5. I'm also on 5. Now I gotta go. Alright. I will keep this one and put Red Blast, Basic Island, Tundra on the bottom, and hope that the kill a Chrome Mox line works here. They're on 5. Lotus Petal, please play Chrome Mox, please play Chrome Mox. Fuck! Alright, yeah, we're just dead. Okay. Sometimes you sideboard 1,000 spells in and you don't draw any of them. On to the final round. For the absolute best Magic the Gathering apparel on the market, check out the link in the video description to coalesceapparel.shop, and be sure to use the code BoshNRoll for 10% off when you check out. I'm on the draw for the final round, and I drew the 7-card hand I wanted last round. Perfect. I will keep this hand, though. Got a Scalding Tarn from the opponent. I'll play the Tropical Island, because if I get Wastelanded, that's the one I have 2 of. Just land go. We can land go with each other here for a while. Next turn, I can hardcast an Endurance and just put something on the board, if nothing else develops before then. They're certainly developing like a combo deck, though. Delver would have played a creature or cantrip by now. I guess this could be Jeskai or even a mirror match. But I'm just gonna pass a turn and represent Endurance. We're doing something in the end step. Jeskai colors. Hall Breacher? Sure is. I'm gonna brainstorm in response to this. Am I gonna brainstorm in response to this? What's the game plan here? I could just shove Endurance in front of this thing in combat. I don't think that's how I want to play this game, though. I'm gonna brainstorm in response. Did not draw a replacement blue card or a good answer to Hall Breacher. If I Force of Will Hall Breacher, they know I can't do anything. Because I would have just held up Swords to Plowshares if I had a better answer. If they force back here, we probably just lose. Okay. Yep. Cool. Yes, that is the card that you have. Okay, game 2. Played against Show and Tell 3 times in this league now. Pyroblast. We beat this deck last time, though. The sideboard helps a lot. I did bring in the Surgical last time. Pyros and Hydros and Carpet. Oh my. I think I ended up cutting Endurance in some number last time. Burrow in some number. Sylvan Library on the play. If it's going to be good, this is where it's going to be good. 2 plows go out. I board out the plows as punishment for not showing up late game. Play from the loam, not super important. I'm not going to waste lock this opponent. And cut a Wasteland last time as well. This makes sense. And I will do it as such. Would like to play first, and this 1-lander with Brainstorm I will keep. I like Pyroblast enough to take some risks based on a hand that includes it. For turn, had the land, no problem, pass the turn. I'm gonna Brainstorm in their end step. And they're showing Pyroblast now. Would be kind of wild to Pyroblast a Brainstorm and then get hit with Narset. But if they want to be aggressive, the line is there. This pause right now, they clearly have it. Okay, Minsc and Boo's gone, Surgical's gone. And I got a fetch here. Gonna get Volcanic Island. I don't have any green, but I'd rather be able to cast all my blue spells for sure. Oh, heck yeah. Snapping off a Wasteland against the deck that's built not to get wasted feels good. Cuts them off red. I'm still not gonna Pyroblast a Brainstorm against the Narset Days Undoing Teferi deck. And I get to Ponder, then I'm holding up one of each Blast and Force of Will. And hit my land drop. For next turn. I've already made my land drop this turn. And all the cards in their deck that I care about cost 3, so they're not even gonna cast a spell this turn. I have high confidence in that. Unless it's like Ponder. A Brainstorm for me here. I'm gonna wait until next turn. I can fight over Narset on their turn, or Teferi, or whoever it is, and then Brainstorm on mine. They've recovered just fine from this Wasteland. I was hoping to put them in the trash forever. Didn't work out that way. Now I have an interesting choice, because if I Brainstorm in the end step and hit the land, I can Narset with Pyroblast protection, or else I'm just going to have to wait. But they're representing Pyroblast, so I'm just going to go to my turn and get a full gas Brainstorm. Gas the Brainstorm right now. Oh, come on. Shithead. Okay. I'll put Prismatic Ending and Narset on top of my deck. And I'll pass the turn without a land drop. I could Surgical myself for a shuffle, but I don't think we're that hard up. I can cast... I could reasonably end up Hellbent from the 7-card hand. Oh no, they have a Caracas. That's not in the stock list, and I've already used my 1 Wasteland. This game just went into hard mode. Fairy Time Raveler. Counter target spell if it's blue. This one is. And I'm just gonna draw a go here. Or, no, they don't have red now. I can play Narset. Yeah, this is easy. Narset. Right. Force of Negation pitching Days Undoing. How about Force of Will pitching Dress Down? Cool. Now Narset can clear the card that's on top of my deck that I don't want, which is Prismatic Ending. 2 Minsc and Booze and a Carpet. None of these are immediately helpful. Carpet unlocks my hand if I draw green. Oh, right, they have Karakas that I basically can't kill, so it's easily Carpet here. Now the choice is, do I want a Surgical to Fairies in their draw step? I don't think I do. I think I want to fight over Narset exclusively with the Surgical. They just pitched a Days Undoing. Okay, let's see if this is rewarded. Force pitching Dress Down. Okay, we survived that. And now I can get the Narsets out of their deck. And I get Draw Step plus Narset activation. Cool. Found green source. Narset, let's go. Plow, Force, Hydroblast. I'll take the Force. Gonna fetch for Tropical Island. Play Carpet of Flowers. And then I'll make black in the second main and just save 2 life here. They've shown me Force of Negation and their deck plays Counterspell, so going now on the Surgical gives up a little bit of information and the possibility to spike a Narset from their hand from a draw step, but it also plays around all these counterspells. Blood Moon, Shark Typhoon, Rest in Peace, Plow. Okay. Glad I have this Blue Blast, and I pitched the Dress Down instead. So Narset, you have 3 Days Undoings in your build. 4 Forces and 2 Force Negations, 3 Hull Breachers. Oh god, I need my Plows back in. This is far from the stock list. Okie. Gonna have to beat a Shark Typhoon in the near future. That's bad. That's really good against my Narset. I basically need to Endurance to get Wasteland back into my deck. This Shark Typhoon's gonna crush me, like right now, unless I draw something big. Tundra is not it. Okay, so I lose Narset here, but I am showing Hardcast Force of Will, in case that matters. I'm gonna make red with Carpet. Just pretend I have a spell. Though, they see the mana burn off and know that I don't. And Shark Typhoon, betrayed by my son. I gave you everything. You stabbed me in the heart. And it's my turn, so they even get to draw a card. Bye, Narset. I loved you. Here's a land. Is it Blood Moon time? Do they even care now that I have Carpet? They've seen Force of Will. Just face up. Okay, I know almost all the cards in their hand. There's one mystery card. If it's Counterspell, they got me here. They know my hand. This was the one mystery card. Going to my turn doesn't help there. So they resolve Rest in Peace, which means my Wasteland's gone, which means I have to win with the initiative, which is hard because they have a 3/3 flying. Oh my god. Cruel fate! And they have Swords to Plowshares in their hand. Shark Typhoons. Busted. And I drew the card that can still win me the game. So if I make green, 3/4, okay, I just have to pass here until I can protect my initiative creature or remove this shark. Either one does the trick. I've got 16 life to work with against this 3/3 shark, holding a Force of Will that they know about from Narset. On removal spell. Brainstorm. Okay. Yes, make blue. I can counter a Hull Breacher if they breach in response to Brainstorm. They're hardcasting Force. I'm going to do the same, leaving white mana available. And the chips are down here. I know what I need to do, and it's resolve this Undermountain Adventurer. Mystic Sanctuary is a land drop, but nothing else. So if I put Brainstorm, Undermountain Adventurer on top of my deck in that order, I can make my land drop, and then next turn Narset with maximum information. Brainstorm from you. It's cool that I have Narset in my hand. Ponder. Goes to shuffle. We no longer know anything about their hand. This Plow may or may not still be there. Go to your turn. I'm going to make blue and summon Narset. counterspell would have to be Red Blast or Force of Will here, and it was Red Blast. Okay. Brainstorm's on top. I can take another 3. Just working through their stuff one at a time. If they Hull Breach me next turn, I'm in the shit. Okay. I need you to not have specifically Hull Breacher right now. How about that? Brainstorm. Okay, they're Force of Willing. Man. Yeah, the Swords of Plowshares that may or may not actually be in their hand, one way or another, just is a beating. I gotta give it another turn here. Like, even Endurance stabilizes for me. I make green off of Carpet. Prismatic Ending is great. Now you're drawing Brainstorms. Hey, deck, help me out. How about a good one? I drew the card that I can tutor with Undermountain Adventurer. I think I pass here. I go to 1. And I leave the island in my hand to maximize for Brainstorm next turn. I was never beating Hull Breacher anyway, so if you could just add 1 power to the board, okay. That was disappointing. Exactly, Shark Typhoon, the perfect Magic card. It sucks to lose to anybody, but if I'm going to lose a situation that every card was under control except Shark Typhoon, at least we build the brand. Yeah, so this league, we started out strong and then got pummeled into shit by a bunch of combo decks. If you want to move in that direction, and I guess you need to in this current metagame, this Jeskai Undoing deck coming back all of a sudden is going to require some different deck building. We could probably main deck a Pyroblast. And Sylvan Library is even worse with this thing in the metagame, so put a Pyroblast in the main deck. That gives us 4 across the 75 now. That would help against Show and Tell, Narset, Teferi, etc. All the stuff we just, or most of the stuff we just lost to, except Oops All Spells, where we mulled to 4 without seeing any of our, 9 free spells? 10 free spells? I mean, 8 of them are better than the other 2, for sure, if we're counting Force of Vigor, but still, the mull to 4 seeing none of the action was some BS. Mystic Sanctuary, I think, is better as Boseiju. Though, Mystic Sanctuary is a source of blue mana that does do stuff, especially in a Terminus deck. Maybe we replace a Wasteland with Boseiju, if we're going to switch things. That adds a green source and does some of the same stuff that Wasteland does. It does some things better than Wasteland and some things worse. I think that's a spot, though. Like, if Wasteland's in the deck primarily to remove Caracas, and then you sometimes get to cheese loam some people, I don't think the switch here is going to be too bad. Yeah, I like Boseiju over a Wasteland a lot more. And then do we play a deck with Mystic Sanctuary, Caracas, Boseiju, and Wasteland as tech lands, or do I just add another like Savannah or Tropical Island over the Mystic Sanctuary? There are 7 other islands, and we have to fetch them with some priority, but I think I talked myself into it with being a Terminus deck. The Undermountain Adventurer was a banger in almost every situation it was drawn this league. It won multiple games that I think otherwise we would have struggled with. And that last game, it was the thing that would have stabilized and won the game if they didn't have a 3/3 flyer and Swords of Plowshares in their hand to back it up. Which I obviously understand are a bunch of big ifs, and it didn't win that game, so we can't count it, but like, they needed that specific combination of things and me to brick from 17 life with it in my hand. So I actually really liked the Undermountain Adventure experiment. I don't know if it's going to be in the deck after 10 to 20 more matches, but after the first 5, it has not earned a cut. And we find ourselves back to 1 Sylvan Library, a card that I don't like. I want something else. Maybe it's Narset number 3. You could play Teferi number 1. It's not on Magic Online yet, but Comet Stellar Pup is a card that people have been playing in these 4-color soup decks in paper. I have played 4 Uro in the list before, which just gets your engine online faster. It's not a card you usually want to draw 2 of, but you do want the first one basically all the time. I've played Teferi before, but I don't think Teferi is solving any specific problems for the deck right now. But Narset is pretty dope in this Days Undoing metagame. She gets ahead of their setup and stuffs their payoff until they can clear her. So yeah, I'm in for that. This is where I'm going to leave the list for this iteration of it. Obviously, we did not trophy. Wheels came off in the second half of the league against a series of combo decks. But we know that combo is the weak point. That's why the sideboard is so stacked up against it. It just has to work out that way. And it's tough that the Jeskai Undoing deck is... I would consider that more a combo deck than a control deck, but it does get to do both. At least its role in this particular matchup. Its role in the control mirror is to be just be show and tell. And then its role against attacking decks is to be control. So it does get to do both, and more functional show and tell decks in the metagame are bad for Hot Bant. Also played against 3 Blood Moon decks, and they happen to also be the 3 show and tell decks. But we did not lose to Blood Moon. We didn't lose a match to Bast Basics. We did lose a game to it, but we did win that match. Game 3, answering 2 of them on our way to victory. So those cards aren't lights out. We do have the tools to stop them. It's just how hard they kill us around their lock piece, because the lock piece won't be enough on its own. I'm actually going to make one more change. I think this is too many 4-drops, and any one of them will win the game if you're still alive. So I'm going to put a Force of Negation in the spot of the 3rd Minsc Boo. Minsc Boo is another one of these cards that you don't usually want to draw 2 of, and it dies the Lightning Bolt, and it gets bricked by Karakas if you don't have that under control, and just Force of Negation helping you be alive against the random BS to get to the Uro and Boo and initiative phase of the game. I think it's better to hedge in that direction. It's better to hedge on being alive come turn 4 than slamming something unbeatable on turn 4 when you're a deck like this. Those are my thoughts and changes after the league. We will continue the Spunky Control Deck Challenge. Lots of control decks coming. I'm recording Shark Still tomorrow. That should be out next week by the time you're all seeing this. And then got a ton of Staff of the Storyteller decks in the queue. It's all coming. I got a lot of shots at this Spunky bounty. Poseidus Chihuahua, thanks for the invitation to play Bant. We got some cool innovation, learned some cool lessons in this league. And I'm looking forward to the next one. Thank you all for watching. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Check out the Patreon, and I'll see you next time.